Welcome to this online Pali English course. This is the first online course, online Pali English course that VRI Vipassana Research Institute has been conducting. On behalf of VRI welcome you all to this Pali course. I welcome you all to Pariyatti Bhavan. Many of you might have seen this building. This is the physical location of VRI. When we used to have classes, physical classes, this is where initially the classes used to be held. This is in the Global Vipassana Pagoda campus. 10-day course center Dhamma Pattana is there in Mumbai. Just next to this is the Pariyatti Bhavan, or you can say the house of Pariyatti, the house of teachings. This is where we used to have our courses. Students used to stay here for a period of 6 to 8 weeks and learn Pali. But a lot of things have changed in past 2 years. We were not able to conduct any offline courses, any residential courses last year. So VRI thought of conducting online courses. We started first with Pali Hindi course and we got an overwhelming response for that, and VRI was very happy that we could reach out to literally thousands of practitioners who were interested in learning Pali. So after last year's experience, we also are rerunning the Pali Hindi course this year, and then we thought of venturing into Pali English. So this is the first, you can say this is the experimental course in a way, because the platform is different. We have been teaching Pali and we were conducting Pali English course every year, but because now the platform is different, it is not a single classroom setup. The teacher and student cannot see each other, cannot exchange doubts and information right across. So it's a bit different, but we hope that based on our experience that we gained from Pali Hindi course, we will try to reach out to maximum number of people and basically help you understand, learn Pali. So let us talk what this course is all about. Goals. When I say goals, what I mean is we have seen a number of students over the years. When they come to VRI, we usually ask them what are your expectations from this course? Why exactly have you come here? Because you see, for Pali English course, it used to be minimum 8 weeks program. So people used to come and stay at VRI campus for minimum of 8 weeks. And if people are coming from some other country than India, they have to take out even more than that time. So when someone is investing that amount of time and energy and trying to learn something new, and many of it do quite late in life, because it's we are many of our students are way past their school lives. So when they come with that urge to learn Pali, we used to ask them, what exactly do you want to get out of it? And one standard answer we used to get, uh, I'll come to that by and by, but I'll try to combine what students' expectations were always expressed to us and what this course is aiming at offering to you. So this is what we will be doing in this course. So the students first want to read and recite Pali, suttas and verses. The main thing which comes again and again whenever we talk to any person who wants to learn Pali, everyone comes to 10-day course and chanting that Goenkaji does on a course. Everyone says that I want to understand that. I want to know the words and then I want to know the meaning of those words. So that is the basic idea with which most of our students they come to VRI. And I'm sure many of you will have the same thing that whenever we go for a course, a Vipassana course, be a 10-day course, Satipatthana, or even longer course, the morning chantings that we hear every day that Goenkaji recites, and we know that what those chanting give us. So if we know the words, then the thing we get out of them, the inspiration that they give us, will be many fold more. So that is what the first thing is, read and recite Pali Suttas. So that will come very easily once you learn the alphabet, you will be very easily able to read Pali. And recitation also is not difficult because you will be learning the pronunciation. So that also will come very easily. The next harder steps come. Yes, now it is about understanding. So when it comes to understanding Pali language, we go by these two ways, these two things we combine: understanding basic grammar concepts and then developing vocabulary. That is, we try to understand how Pali is written, how the meaning is given to words, and the exact meaning of the words. We will learn more about this, understand why this approach in next slide. But this is the middle step, you can say, and the long-term goal. Any venture that we are going to do, and if we are committed to this path. We all are committed to this path of Dhamma for a long time. So I would suggest that if you are going to take up Pali, do a long term commitment, because then you will be able to give a try to this last one, that is we can try to read and understand the suttas from the original texts. It will take a lot of effort, quite a bit of study, and just like practice, it's a long path, but all the way it will bring just smiles. Even if we understand just a few words, just a couple of words out of any sutta, it just brings so much of joy and it gives such an inspiration for practice that it's totally worth it. So now, very important question, why learn grammar? People, they want to learn Pali, they really want to understand the suttas, but the crux of the matter is always why grammar? We don't want to learn grammar, it is so dry, we just want to understand the suttas. That's what we have been listening to from students, from different students over the years, but it simply doesn't work that way. The reason being, how we learn, basically consider any language, how we learn a new language. Suppose I want to take up, say, French, German, Japanese, any language which I don't know, how I go about it. There are various platforms that teach, or just I go to someone who knows that language. Then I try to, or just I can listen to conversation between two people if I go to different country. This is a very natural process, very naturally it evolves. You all the time you listen to that language when people speak, and slowly we start understanding that. Slowly we start getting meaning out of those words, and then we start using them. We make some mistakes, then we correct them, and it goes on. This does not work in case of Pali because Pali is not a language of communication anymore. It was the language of communication of masses 25 centuries ago at the time of the Buddha. That's why all his discourses, all the suttas are in Pali, and that is why we are learning it. But for now, for many centuries, this language hasn't been spoken, or if at all it's been spoken, it must have been in very small pockets in a few monasteries here and there. That's all the people who would be, some monks would be using this language. The literature in this language isn't there, like new literature isn't coming up. People are not speaking this language. So, in a sense, this language is a dead language. That means the language isn't live now. People are not using this language. So, we cannot learn it by normal method of speaking and listening to it and just understanding it. Like a child learns his or her first language, mother tongue. That is not the process that we can adopt with Pali. So, when you learn a language which is not at all used for speaking, but it has such a rich literature in it, and basically it contains Dhamma. The theoretical aspect of Dhamma is there in this language. Then, how do we go about this? So, as I said in the previous slide, these two things, vocabulary. So, we try to understand meaning of Pali words. And this is very easy because there are lots of dictionaries there, and now as the technology is improving, you have n number of apps. Different applications are there where you can download different dictionaries, look up any Pali word, and even in different scripts it is available. So getting meaning of a word, understanding a meaning of a word, developing your vocabulary is not a difficult part. The difficult part is trying to understand the meaning of a particular form of a word. As we go along and as we read the suttas, as we read even simple sentences, you will see that a word is hardly ever in its pure form in Pali. It assumes different forms. It different prefixes are different suffixes are joined to it, or it can combine with different words to form a totally different word altogether. It undergoes various kinds of transformation. Then understanding that word, the dictionary cannot help because we know the meaning of that word, but it has transformed in such a way that we don't know how to decode that verb now. That is where the grammar comes into play. It tells you how these words are used and help you in decoding or understanding these words. So that is why we are learning grammar, to understand how different words are used and get meaning out of that word. In our course, what we will be doing is basically simplified grammar. We won't be learning grammar in a very scholarly way, in the sense it's not the aim. It's more as an aid. We treat Pali grammar as an aid to further, like it will help us in reading suttas. It will help us in understanding the Tipitaka or words of the Buddha. So we are looking at grammar as a tool. So we will try to make it as simple as possible, give you as minimum rules as possible, so that you are not bogged down by the grammar, but you should be able to understand certain concepts. Without that, you cannot go further into reading suttas. So grammar is necessary. We will be doing that. Most of the course content would be grammar related, but we will try to use it just as an aid and move forward using those aids, using those tools towards reading the suttas. So, grammar is going to be a tool for us for reading and understanding the words of the enlightened ones, the words of the Buddha, the words of his disciples who were enlightened. So, this is how we are going to approach learning grammar. Now, let us talk a bit about the course structure, how this course is going to run. The formal teaching or the lectures that you are going to listen to, these will be recorded sessions. So this is not a live session where a teacher and students log in at a particular time and live lectures are given, but these are recorded sessions. This is also due to the time constraint about the time zones, because people from various countries would be doing this course, so it will simply be impossible to strike at a particular time which is convenient for everybody. When the sessions are recorded, you can replay them for convenience of at least, say, like, make two periods where half the world is listening to this particular time, the other half can listen to that particular time, and then it's convenient for everybody. Also, we have seen, as I said, we have learned quite a few things from our past experience with Pali Hindi course. We have found that rather than live, the recorded sessions sometimes turn out much better. I agree that spontaneity is not there many a times, but still, when you are not seeing the student and you are not getting the expression on their faces, and which makes it very evident that this particular point the student has missed, or I need to explain it again, when that is not going to happen anyways, recording the session, thinking about it previously, what I want to say, and record it makes much more sense. And the finished product, the last outcome of these lectures, the recorded sessions, we have found that it is much better than the live sessions. Also, there is a lot of technical issues. There also there a lot of technical issues crop up in live sessions. We have had issues where the connectivity problems were there. Either the teacher couldn't share the content, or students couldn't listen to it properly, or there were some only audio, only video, lots of different problems. So without that, this is the best way to go about it. The first, learning of concepts, the topics, this will come to you from recorded sessions. The next thing which comes as a student's study part, let's say homework, you have been given a lot of study material, the textbook, the Pali Primer and the key of Pali Primer. I'll talk about that in detail later. This is your study material that you will be revising. Also, some grammar help will be given to you, booklets, grammar where all the terms and things are explained, the declension tables are there, that study material will be there with you. It will be followed by quizzes and assignments. So once you have learned a topic, there will be a few days gap where you can revise those things, whatever you have learned, then take up an assignment, just the way how we used to do in class. So our schedule used to be something like, we learn Pali grammar, say Monday to Wednesday. We used to have, in a residential course, Monday to Wednesday we used to have grammar classes. Students used to then practice on those things whatever they have learned in those 3 days. Thursday, Friday used to be usually sutta sessions or something like that, for which not much of homework was required. So those 2 days they will be again revising the grammar things that were given to them, and then Saturday would be a class test or a quiz. So that is how we had the thing in residential course. So here also we will try to follow the same pattern. You learn a few things from new concepts from the recorded session which will be played on particular day. Then for 2 or 3 days you can revise those concepts and then take a test or say let's say assignment. So that will make your understanding clearer. When you have understood something, revised it, and taken a quiz on that, then you are sure that you have understood the things correctly. Still, there will be some doubts. For that, you can always come to us. So, there will be doubt solving sessions, interactions, so that all will be there. You can always ask us doubts, whatever, because as you study, doubts are going to be there and teachers will be there to help you get over those doubts, get those clarified before you move on to the next session. So this is how our course is going to progress. Let us talk a bit about the syllabus now. So whatever topics are there in Pali Primer, all those topics we are going to cover, and this end plus I have given. So we will be covering a couple of more topics which are not there in Pali Primer. So this is you can say your syllabus. Whatever is there in Pali Primer, all those topics you are going to learn. Then, as I said, study material, the grammar book you have with you, which has extra material which is not there in Pali Primer. So this is going to be your reference book, not just for this course, this Pali English course, but it will help you whenever in future you want to read the suttas, you want to learn more about Pali. This is going to be a nice handy collection of all the different grammar forms that you are going to come across. It's not exhaustive again because this is a basic Pali grammar course. We are not covering very advanced topics in this, but still I would say this is going to be a very good collection, very good reference source for you. And for starting with simple suttas and progressing on your own, this much material would be enough. That I can say from my own experience. I have done this similar course and I have had only this much material with me to start with, but today I can fairly confidently read the suttas. So this is how the study material will come in play. The next thing is the sentences and verses. As we move along the course, we will try to cover more and more sentences from Tipitaka. Because as we are learning Pali, we want to learn suttas. So we will try to cover more and more sentences from Tipitaka. Other than that, we will talk about online dictionaries, different apps. You people must be conversant with this already, or we can also guide you how to get them, what material to use, etc. So I think now we are fairly well equipped to dive into our course. So let us start learning Pali.
Let us take a short break here and then continue with our next session.
Now we will start learning Pali. As you all know, Pali is a language. What do we understand by language? Language is basically a system of communication which uses words, phrases, and those words make sense to people who listen to it, speak it. So, all over the world, people speak many different languages. So, examples like English, Russian, Japanese, Hindi, these all are languages. Similarly, Pali is also a language. This is the language in which the Buddha taught Dhamma. This was the language of common people at the time of Buddha, that is around 25 centuries ago in northern India. That is why Buddha taught in this language, and that is the reason why we are so keen to learn this language, because we want to know what the Buddha taught in his own words. Now, when language is written or read, that means if we have it in book or say on your mobile in any app, if any language is there, how do we read it? We use certain set of characters, that is called as a script. Natural, normally a language is associated with a particular script. For example, again, let's take common example like English. It is written in Latin or Roman script. Also, languages like French and German use the same script. If you come to India, the languages here like Hindi, Marathi, even Sanskrit, all these languages use a common script which is known as Devanagari. But usually a language and a script is a pair. Normally a language is written in a particular script. In case of Pali, there is a slight difference. Pali is written in various scripts, and this has been happening for centuries now. So why this is the this is the case in case of Pali, that there is no particular script there? Because at the time of Buddha, that is again, as I said, 25 centuries ago, the art of writing wasn't developed much. So normal common people, they were not used to write and read. So basically, spoken words were basically the language at that time. And all the discourses that Buddha gave, the whole collection that is known as the Tipitaka, it contains 84,000 suttas. So all this literature, the scriptures were memorized by bhikkhus, and they kept on passing it to the next generation by recitation. So they used to recite it, memorize it, and then pass it on to next generation. This is how we received this entire teachings of Buddha till now. So what happened? People just used to speak it, memorize it, and as Dhamma spread to different countries, naturally the words went along with that. The teachings also went to different countries, and as those people later on started writing, they used their own scripts to write down those words of Buddha. So naturally, Pali came to be written in different scripts. Let us see a few examples. Here, the language is Pali, but it is written in different scripts. First is Burmese or Myanmar script, then Sinhala, Sinhalese, Thai, Devanagari, and last is Latin or Roman. So here if you see on the left hand side, all this is a single Pali sentence. So a single Pali sentence is written in 5 different scripts. And what is that sentence? I think all of you will be able to read the last line. It is Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha. This is a Pali sentence and it is written in various scripts. So this is an example of how Pali can be written in different ways. And even more and more scripts are being used to write Pali nowadays because people from different parts of globe are interested in learning Pali, and it helps if they can read and write it in their own script. But as this is a Pali English course, we will be using Latin or Roman script to write Pali, and we will be reading the suttas in Roman script as well. That means we will be using normal Roman alphabet A, B, C, D to read and write Pali. So now let us understand more about how Pali is written in using English alphabet or Roman script. In Pali, there are 41 letters. Each letter or each character in a language is basically a sound. So in Pali, when we speak Pali, there are 41 typical sounds that come into play. So there are these 41 letters, but as we all know, English or Roman alphabet has just 26 characters. So to match these 26 characters with 41 different sounds of Pali, we modify a certain letters in English using diacritical marks. So these letters like A, B, C, D, what we are using, we use certain marks along with those letters to identify a particular sound in Pali or particular letter in Pali. So let us study some more about these diacritical marks. There are 3 main diacritical marks which are used. The first one is called as a macron. Macron is basically this line, this horizontal small line which is drawn above the letter is called as a macron. So here are examples. Here you can see like this letter A, then I and U. These are normal English letters, but on top of each of them there is a small line drawn that gives a particular sound to that letter. So when we write normal A, there will be, that is a different letter, and A with a macron is a different letter. We will see how each of that is pronounced. That is pronunciation part we will come to later. Right now we are just understanding the diacritical marks, how letters are modified. So first is this macron, which is used on top of the letter or above the letter. Second is tilde. That is again a mark. This is a curved line, not a straight line, but a curved line, which is again placed on top of the letter, here like this. So this is tilde, and the last is a dot. Dot can be used in 2 places. As we saw, macron and tilde both are drawn above the letter. A dot can be made above the letter or below the letter. Here are a few examples. When it is made above the letter will look like this. If it is below the letter, these are a few examples of that. So you need not memorize all these things. These are just a few explanatory things to give you an idea how Pali letters will look. When you are reading some Pali text, it will have such kind of letters in it. We will see how each of that is pronounced, how we read each of that. So once again, Pali alphabet has 41 letters or characters. In English also, the division, the 26 characters, letters, alphabet are divided in vowels and consonants. In English, we have 5 vowels, as you know, A, E, I, O, U. In Pali also, we have such division. We have 8 vowels and 33 consonants in Pali. That complete set is of 41. So that is the next thing that we are learning, 8 vowels and 33 consonants and how each of them is written and pronounced. So let us start with one simple rule, and this rule makes our life very easy when we are reading and writing Pali. What is that rule? A Pali letter or character has the same sound irrespective of the word in which it is used. What does that mean? It has the same sound, but how? What's the difference? How does it make sense? Let's take some examples. First, let's read some English words. Okay, so here are a few words. Let's read them. First is apple, and. This is a pair. Next pair is ask, after. Then the third is again, another. And the fourth is age, 8. So now, as you can see, look at the first A of each word, the letter written in blue, and see in each set how the pronunciation differs. Apple, and. Ask, after. Again, another. Age, 8. So see, the letter A is pronounced differently in each of the sets. But this will not be the case in Pali. A Pali letter or character has the same sound irrespective of the word in which it is used. So if you see letter A in Pali, in any of the words it is written, any sentence, any sutta, that letter will be pronounced just the same. The sound of that letter will be the same throughout. So actually it makes, as I said, it makes our life easier because we don't have to worry about the pronunciation part. Once we know how each of the 41 letters are pronounced, we cannot go wrong in reading Pali. So this is something you need to remember, that each Pali letter has a particular sound and it does not ever change. It remains the same anywhere that letter occurs. So now let us understand the sounds of each letter. Let's start with vowels. These are the 8 vowels in Pali. So now what we will do is, we will see how to write each letter and how to pronounce. So I will be pronouncing each character, and after me, you can also pronounce it. I'll be taking a short gap after pronouncing each letter. So the first one is, this one is A. A. The first, this one is A. A. Next is A. A. First is A. Next is A. The third one, this is E. E. Fourth is E. E. So you can see here, these first two letters have been used using the same English character, that is A, but this one is modified with a macron. Similarly, this is modified with a macron. So this is how we differentiate between different letters, that using modifying macron or tilde or dot signs. So let's revise the first four vowels again. A, A, E, E. Once more. A, A, E, E. Then the next is U, U. After that, U, U. And the last two, A, A, O, O. So we will read the whole set once more. A, A, E, E, U, U, A, O. We will revise it once more. A, A, E, E, U, U, A, O. Now it will take some time for you to get used to these sounds. We need to practice it, practice the pronunciation part. And we have to be a little bit mindful when we are saying A. What happens is, this particular letter, first one, we are used to calling it A. But in Pali, this is A. And it is, this letter is A in Pali. So initially, when I say A or A, there might be a bit confusion how to write it. But with practice, in just a few sessions, we will pick it up. Okay. So we have to keep on practicing the pronunciation and writing part. Now, as you can see, these 8 letters I have written in 3 different colors, because there are 3 different categories in these letters. The first is called as short vowels. So these, the letters written in blue, they are short vowels. I have again written them here. They are A, E, U. So by pronunciation itself, you can see why they are called as short vowels, because their pronunciation is short. You take less time to pronounce them. A, E, U. They are short. We will see some examples of each of them with a very important word which we keep on hearing all the time, anicca. Anicca. It starts with a, ends with a. Anicca. That is impermanent. Next word is amata. Amata. Amata is a word for deathless. Deathless. Many a times, Nibbana is described as amata. So that is the first short vowel a. The next is e. E. Examples are iti, iti, and isi. Isi. Iti, the first one means thus. Thus, thus in English. Iti. This comes many times in Sutta. Right now, you need not worry about the meaning of each word. These are just examples given for pronunciation practice, how we pronounce each vowel. For that practice, this is given. But as you are learning a few Pali words, I am just telling the meaning of that word. There is no need to memorize all these meanings and words right now. Right now, important part is concentrating on the pronunciation. So this second is E with iti and isi. So iti is thus, and this second word isi, that means a sage. Sage, sage, or you can say a meditator, a wandering, not monk. Isi is another type of person, practitioner, a sage, hermit, you can say. He is called as Isi. Sometimes Buddha is also referred to as Isi, but in a different context. We will come across those words in Sutta, and that time I'll explain. So that takes care of the second vowel. We have covered A and E. The next is U. U. Examples are Uju, Utu. Uju, Utu. Uju means straight. Sometimes even straightforward, honest. This word comes in the description of Sangha, Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. So, which walks on the straight path. So that is Uju. Uju is straight. And Utu means season. Season. Like spring, summer, autumn. These are seasons. That is called as Utu. So these are three short vowels. A, E, U. Then the red ones, which are written here, that we will see next. They are the long vowels. So when we pronounce them, how we pronounce? A, E, U. So you can see the difference. First and second, A, A. Third and fourth, E, E. Fifth and sixth, U, U. So that is the difference between short and long vowels. Short vowels take less duration to pronounce it. Long vowels are stretched. They take longer time. That's why they are called as long vowels. So we will see examples of this. A, the example, this very important word, dana. Dana. So this first A, that is long one, the last is a short A. So dana, dana. Dana means offering, charity, even alms that we offer to the monks, that is dana. Then the next word is saddha. Saddha. This last a is there, long a. Saddha. Saddha means faith or devotion. So these are two examples. Dana, saddha. That is how we pronounce a. Next is e, long e. Examples are sila, sila. Sila, we all know, which means virtue or morality. Even the precepts that we keep, that is called as sila. So the pronunciation of this word is sila. And the next is gihi, gihi. So here you will see one is short e and the last one is long e. So the pronunciation, how it goes? Gihi, gihi. So there is a mix of both short and long sounds. So examples of long E, once again, Sila, Sila, Gihi, Gihi. And the last long vowel is Oo, Oo. Examples are Rupa, Rupa. Rupa means form, Form, form. Any material object is called as Rupa. What we can see with our eyes. The object of our eye consciousness. That will be Rupa. What we can see with our eyes. Rupa. And the next word is Bhuta. Bhuta. Bhuta is any living being, any creature would be called as Bhuta. So, how the pronunciation of long U goes? We'll repeat once again. Rupa, Rupa, Bhuta, Bhuta. So, these are long vowels. Then there are last two remaining, and these are called as intermediate vowels. These last two, that is A and O. These are called as intermediate vowels. And why intermediate? Because in some words their sound is short, in some words their sound is long. So they don't fall in either of the two categories. Like we saw a, e, u. The first, the blue letters that we saw, they were short. A, e, u. They were long. Now these A and O can be either long or short. So it can be A or A, O or O. So we will see examples of both. So first we will see how long A and O are pronounced. So examples of long A, Deva, Deva, and Geha, Geha. So Deva means God or deity. God or deity is called as Deva in Pali. And the next word, Geha, means home, house, is Geha. So here you can observe the pronunciation of A is long. It is a bit stretched. Deva, Geha. Similarly, for O, this is long here. Loka, Loka, and Dosa, Dosa. Loka means the world, universe. That is called as Loka. And the second one, Dosa. This is ill will, hatred. That is Dosa. So these are the long sounds of A and O. We will read all the four words again. Deva, Deva, Geha, Geha, Lok, Lok, Dos, Dos. So these are long sounds, and for the short ones, here are the examples. The first one for short A, it is khetta. Khetta. Khetta means field or farm. That is called as khetta. The second word, we all know this word. It is metta. Metta, which means loving kindness. Metta. So you can observe the difference here. How we pronounced this deva? It was deva. Deva, where A was long, and here it is khetta. Metta. Khetta. Metta. So the sound of A is shortened, it is contracted. And one of the reasons why it is contracted, it is because it is followed by two consonants, or it is called as conjunct consonant. That's why it is contracted. The stress goes on these two joint letters, and that's why the previous A gets contracted. That is one of the reasons. Similarly, in case of O, the short sound comes in case of these two words, mukha, mukha, puthaka, puthaka. So again, you can compare with these upper two. Here, how we pronounce the long ones, loka, dosa, and how we are pronouncing the short ones, mukha, puthaka. So the O is contracted here. And again, the reason being it is followed by more than one consonants. Here also it is followed by more than one consonants. So these are the words. Mukha means liberation. Mukha is another word for liberation. And Puthaka means a book. A book that we read is called as Puthaka. So here we have completed our vowels, 8 vowels. We will just, I will not change the slide. We will just revise their pronunciation once again. 8 vowels are, you also say it after me. A, 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 E, 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 U, 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 A, A, O, O. Now when we revise A and O, the last two, we pronounce it as normal sound, but sometimes, as in when they are long, it is a bit stretched. Then it will be A, O. But while saying, you can simply say it as A, O. So I think this covers our vowels part is over. You have to revise it a bit. In the next session, we will see about consonants, the 33 consonants, and how they are written and how they are pronounced. Now let us see a few resources that are available with you for practicing pronunciation of Pali words. So there are a few books and some audio visual material as well. So let us see what these resources are. The first is our textbook, that is Pali Primer, published by Vipassana Research Institute. Textbook in the sense we will be covering all the topics that are there in this book. In the class, we will be doing different sentences, and this book will be your self-study material. So you will solve these exercises, compare with the key, that is the book accompanying this book. There is another small book called as Key to Pali Primer. I hope that many of you have already have the hard copy of the book. If it is not there, we have already shared the link with you. You can download these books from VRI site. They are available as free resources on VRI website. We have already shared the link with you. If required, we can again send you the link. So download these books and use them for practice, self-study. So in this book, Pali Primer, this is a page from that book. You can see down the number is Roman 9. So just before the first chapter, there are 2 pages on which some information is given about Pali alphabet. So initially it talks about how Pali is written, what scripts are used, then how many vowels and consonants are there, how they are written. That is given in on this page. Also, it says a few things about pronunciation of vowels. The next page is devoted to the consonants. It lists the consonants. Also at the start, vowels are there, and it gives some tips like how this Pali letter is pronounced. For example, it will say like G. English letter G is used for Pali G. So G is pronounced as in good. So that sound G is associated with G. That is how these tips are given. You can just read them and you will understand. It's pretty self-explanatory. Or we will be revising it again and again in class how each letter is pronounced. So these 2 things, they will help you understand the sound of each letter, how it is to be pronounced. The next is the Gem Set in Gold. This is very important book. This also is available on VRI website. If you don't have it, then you can download it from there. This book contains all the chantings that Guruji chant in on a 10-day course. So but the morning chantings, they are there, plus whatever Guruji chants at the start of the course, the precepts that we take, the asking for vipassana and all those things. So everything, whatever Pali and Hindi chants are there on a 10-day course, everything is there in this book. And not just Pali, but alongside there is English translation of that. So that is very important for us. You will see the Pali text that will give you all the words that are there in Pali, and side by side you can read the translation and understand the meaning. So this is more focus here is on pronunciation of the words and reading them. This is the focus. Understanding of the suttas, understanding will come as we learn grammar, because then we will know what that particular word form indicates and how we can translate it in English. That understanding will go on developing slowly, but this book will help you to read and recite the suttas. In this book also, there are a few tips given about pronunciation. So this slide that you can see, it's a picture of page number 12. Page number 12 of Gem Set in Gold. Here again there are some instructions given about how to pronounce each character, each Pali character. There is also a note about Hindi alphabet because this book also contains some Hindi chantings, but right now we will concentrate only on Pali. So these are two books which will help you read and get to know the meaning of few important Pali words. This is another source based on the same book, Gem Set in Gold. This is audio visual resource. You can find this at Pariyatti site. This is the link. The link, most of you must have received the link that we shared with you. If not, we will share it again. Using this link, you can go to Pariyatti site, and when you go there, of course it is a resource for old students, so you need to put in old student password there. But once you do that, then you are taken to this page, which is the page for this source, Gem Set in Gold Dhamma Chanting. So you can stream it from here, or as you see here, as it is written down, you can download the whole thing. You can view it on YouTube channel, Pariyatti YouTube channel. What it has basically is the whole Gem Set in Gold. The written thing is there. Along with that, Guruji's chanting is recorded. So when you, for example, this is one part of that. So day 2, when you go to day 2, the whole thing is over more than an hour and a few minutes more. So whichever part you want to, you can listen to. So this is day 2 part. So day 2 is Ratana Sutta chanting. So what that portion will contain is this. It will have each page, like each section will have a stanza in Pali of the Sutta, Ratana Sutta. Down there is, as shown here, English translation will be there, and along with that you can listen to the chanting by Goenkaji. So you can read the words, you can see the meaning, and you can listen to the chanting at the same time. So this is a very good resource for getting more familiar with Pali pronunciation and spelling. And of course, translation is always there for you to read. So these are few important resources which will help you develop your pronunciation better.